What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess, the Total Package, Craig, the British Bulldog, and Cuz, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Someone feed me today's topic.
Shit's getting real, Dave. It's When Wrestling Gets Real, Part 4.
Part 4, or better known as Jobber Edition. This is going to be fun, right?
Yeah. The people it's getting real to are not the career-long professionals, but the enhancement talent, which makes it doubly bad for these workmen of the ring, these Saturday morning superstars.
We love them.
Sorry, guys. It got real for you.
It really did. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. And guys, are you ready for it to get real?
It's going to get real. It's going to get real fast.
Actually, I could wait a little bit before it gets real.
It's already real, bud.
Oh, okay.
This is real.
Oh.
When we start using our gimmick names, it's real.
Jess, why did we talk about Jobber Edition for Wrestling Gets Real Part 4?
I just wanted to have a theme. I'm going to be honest on that one. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to pick all clips where enhancement talent gets their ass handed to them. And may I say, out of the clips that we're going to talk about,
there's some
all of
ones.
them I feel bad for, except for one of them kind of deserved it. And we'll talk about that.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
I would say out of the 4 clips we're going to play, 3 of them, I'm like, man, I feel bad for that enhancement talent. I mean, well, and one of them, there's a question mark because I don't know why they got beat up.
Why did it go that way?
Yeah,
I think Joe Thurman was a dick in the back. Everyone knows that.
It right now.
He broke the fourth wall already. Jesus.
No, he got to that ring. He's like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get my shit in.
I'll just start with that one. But
no, the
Vader, you're taking my finish,
right? Just let me see if this is the one you're thinking of, because it's actually number 1 on our list, and we don't know why this happened, but somebody's really pissed off. We're talking about Koko B. Ware versus the Mass Patriot at Memphis TV in 1985. This was an enhancement talent match, as we all talked about, for Memphis TV. Koko was the star, and the Patriot was supposed to basically look at the lights, go out on your back, right? What people don't know, Koko B. Ware was obviously that middle range talent in WWF, but in Memphis, he's on top. He's the man. So you don't mess with Koko B. Ware in Memphis, all right? Everybody needs to know this going into it. So something
he looks like a bull too here.
Yeah,
he'll fuck you up.
He's massive. He's in great shape.
And important to say, it's not the Patriot. It is the Mass Patriot, who's a $105 wet.
Hey, Davey. All right, this is going to be a one-fall, 15-minute time limit match. Introducing from parts unknown at 208 pounds, the Masked Patriot. And going against him from Union City, Tennessee, 222 pounds, Koko Ware.
Maybe his first match of all time. So it ain't Del Wilkes. So let me just.
Koko B. Ware was like Big E right here.
Yeah,
like that's how big Koko looked here.
So
it might have been Del after a binge. I'm sorry, that was rude.
He thought it was for Angle.
I like the Patriot. That was rude. That was rude for me.
Yeah,
I did. Addiction serious. I'm sorry.
But for some reason, the Mass Patriot pushed Koko into the corner,
but
and
it could have been
him. Chopped him, like chopped the crap out of him. And instantly, you can see Koko got really upset. He got really mad. He started firing punches. And I'm not talking like, oh, we're firing punches back and forth. Koko was really laying it in here, just on the punches. And not only to the face, but to the back of the neck of the Mass Patriot. You all know in the wrestling world, you just don't do that. You don't punch somebody. You don't elbow anybody. You don't do anything to the back of somebody's neck in this business. And Koko was really going after him here. You can tell something was wrong, and Koko was seriously enraged. One blow seemed to knock the Patriot unconscious, this poor guy, at one point. Koko didn't care. He picked him up and gave him an Irish whip to the ropes. He clotheslined him so hard, he knocked him to the floor. And what's also not in the notes here, Jess, that the part that really, it made me giggle a little bit, but it's not nice. Right as he's pinning the Mass Patriot, Koko slaps the crap out of him while his back is on the mat. And you can hear it all across the building. And you're supposed to be cheering for Koko here, but it got really uncomfortable, I think, even for their crowd towards the end of this. They knew something was wrong. You gotta play this back for a sec.
And the more shoot interviews I listen to, I hear that Koko was super tough. You wouldn't think that Koko was like one of the toughest guys in the locker room, but I guess Koko like doesn't take shit from anybody and would fight anybody if they offended him. this is the one that falls in the category of I don't know if Patriot deserved it. It's one I don't know about. Obviously, Coco was
just a chop.
pissed, and I maybe would that
I'm
do
saying
it? Maybe
it
it
was
would.
just a
Maybe it
chop.
would.
I'm agreeing with
Yeah,
you.
a lot
Yeah.
of people are saying like in the comments, oh, prelims just don't do that. If he didn't work that out with Coco, the fact that he pushed Coco in the corner as an enhancement talent pissed Coco
That's
off.
true.
But you still got to go to beat him like Coco did. Something else had to have been said in the locker room or in the back that pissed Coco off. I can't just see. I mean, if Coco was that mad, he could have reversed the corner thing, put the Patriot in the corner, and chopped him hard back to kind of send him a message like, "Don't fuck with me." But he didn't. He beat the shit out of him. Like
beating out in the back
like,
alley.
yeah, he beat the shit out of him.
Patriot was in the
Yeah.
bar and said, "Fuck you, man," and then he's like,
Yeah,
"Go
right.
outside, boy." Like,
Yeah.
and he
But
just beat the shit out of
maybe
him.
to your point, Coco
I don't know.
Coco was much more reserved in WWF, and that's where we saw him. And maybe that's where VKM was like, "Hey, you can't do that stuff here."
Tone it
He's
down,
a
bully.
boss.
Jesus.
And
Come on
honestly,
over.
he was always in control. Coco never, other than the
I've
than the
never seen
clothesline, which probably knocked him out. And apparently, the Memphis rings are incredibly hard. But
Oh,
he always he didn't continue to rail on him. He let him breathe, and it almost like he just taught him a lesson from bell to bell.
Yeah.
And it was a very funny lesson of but even when he was giving out his ass whooping, the Masked Patriot turned his back. And so that's when Coco started chopping and punching the back of his head, is because
Yeah.
Masked Patriot turns his back on him. Yeah, I'm mad. Bird, bird, bird. But that slapped to his face.
What
on
was
the-
that?
on
Was
the
that
cover.
Andre?
Yeah,
That
when
was
I'm
Andre,
mad,
yeah.
I'm mad to Duggan. He was talking to Duggan. When Duggan, what I get you.
So yeah, I don't know. I that clothesline, man.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he laid in that clothesline, and I was like, oh. And you saw the Patriot when he laid out. I was like, oh, he's unconscious because Coco went to pick him up, and only the Patriot's head came off the mat. His body was like a sandbag. Like it just, he was done for a second, and then he kind of came back to it. But man, like something pissed Coco off.
It was immediately the first two. It was getting pushed in the corner, and then he either give him a forearm or a shiv or some kind of thing to his neck, and then you could almost read Coco's mind. He's like, Coco just like, what the fuck? And then it was on.
It was a switch.
It was like, well, this isn't 50-50. You don't muscle like Coco Beware.
Yeah,
back.
you don't muscle
You're-
me in the corner.
I love you.
The dude-
Muscle Coco. Did you just muscle Coco Beware?
It could have been. You know what?
It all makes me laugh.
You know, when we do a lot of legacies, what do we see a lot about some superstars in their early on days, whenever they were super green? Some of them would put a mask on because they were just working out. This could have been this guy's first ever match.
Yeah.
And Coco could have been like, dude, let me walk you through it. Calm down. So this guy is brand new. I'm just guessing here at this point.
Sure.
He's brand
I'm
new. He
Shawn
puts a-
Michaels.
Yeah, he
This is my
puts a-
first
yeah.
match.
Hi, Coco, I'm Sean. How you doing? He's like, listen to me. Like, don't take liberties. He's like, I would never do that, sir. And fucking chopped him in the corner. So yeah, so this could have been like a green guy, or maybe someone that Coco worked with in the training, facility they had there, and was just kind of like, yeah, you'll be on TV match with me today. Just listen to me, kid, and just follow my lead. And then little shithead Masked Patriot was like, I'm gonna chop you in the corner, and maybe he deserved it. But I don't know. It just, you feel bad for this guy because he got beat. Like Craig said, he got taught a wrestling lesson. Like he was just shown do not. This probably goes on in training rings all the time. Like when people get flashy in training rings, they probably get humbled quick.
We've seen
like
it.
that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen it. Yeah. But Coco definitely taught him that lesson. This one definitely did earn these lickings. We're gonna talk about.
It definitely gets one of those. That's how you rate it.
This gets pretty real. We'll talk about it right now. The Skyscrapers
yeah,
versus the Avalanche and Mike Blackwell on NWA Wrestling in 1989.
Featuring to my right, the team from out of the mountains of Colorado, the Avalanche and Mike Blackwell. They'll be going against a team that comes from the city of Metropolis with their manager, Teddy Long. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Skyscrapers.
The team of Mike Blackwell and the Avalanche were supposed to take the fall against the enormous Skyscrapers. These are the Skyscrapers of Spivey and Sid Vicious, right? So, because we know that kind of changes it up. But however, for some reason, Mike Blackwell thinks he's a giant and does not sell anything. Every move he takes, he pops right back up. We were just watching it back earlier. I think Cuz watched it too. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is
ridiculous.
terrible." And you can see both Sid and Spivey. There's even portions where they look at the ref and they look at each other like, this guy's not selling right now. Like they take a like a half a second, and they go,
Yeah.
oh, this is what's
Yeah.
going to happen. Okay.
They were
And
patient with him. They're like, you
They
can start
were-
selling in time, Mr. Blackwell. Like
Yeah,
they didn't.
and-
They weren't. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally, and it got so bad too because he was no selling. The moves looked really bad too when
Start selling.
when Spivey throws him into Vicious for like a bump.
Oh,
They
dude.
bump so hard that Vicious,
Vicious
even
fell back.
falls.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Right there,
it was
you
a
know.
mess.
And Vicious
yeah,
had-
you can tell that Blackwell's not
You
doing his
knocked me
job.
down?
I have to
An
say,
avalanche.
you can say what you want about like Sid and Spivey. Spivey has been known sometimes to get stiff in there with people who cross him. Sid's always
Sure.
been, honestly, I've never seen Sid be unprofessional.
He doesn't get
Like,
that mad.
ever.
And honestly, he didn't do it here either.
And no, that's what I mean. Like, so,
He
like,
still didn't.
even at this young age,
Take
like,
it easy, Spivey.
like you guys said in the beginning, they were almost looking at each other like, this motherfucker. Like,
Like, are
looking
you
at,
serious right now?
like, yeah, I watched a shoot.
You
I watched
see, you see the tilt.
I watched a shoot interview with Spivey in it, and Spivey was like they were like, what led up to it? And he was like, well, I would do a move to this guy, and he would be up before me. And I knew, like, okay, like, you need to sell, boy. Like, and I was like, oh, shit. And he was just like, yeah, this guy. So it was totally justified. They gave him multiple times, and even
Yeah.
Sid cornered him
Like
by
double
himself
lariats,
at one point. And I
boots
saw
to the
Sid
face.
lean in and
Yeah.
talk to him a little bit. So Sid must have said something to him like, fucking do it, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, Sid was trying to tell him,
Sell
like,
it?
fucking chill,
You're
bro.
gonna sell
But then
it?
every
He was
move this
always
guy
good.
took, he kept bouncing back up, literally, like he was no selling. Like he's goddamn Kevin
I'm
Sullivan.
trying
That's
to
who it
save
was.
your
That's
life.
what it
I
reminded
was
me
gonna
of.
say it reminded me
Yeah.
of Kevin Sullivan, who thinks
So
he's a giant.
what,
He's like
it got
4
really
feet tall.
brutal was they forced the ending. You just saw the ending come out of nowhere, and Spivey picked him up for a power bomb, and Sid tried to help him, but the prelim was even being fightful then. He was even
He was trying
fighting
to
in the
kick.
power bomb.
He tried
Yeah.
to kick the entire time.
So yeah, and then
ki-
he
kicked like 4
power bombed him,
times.
and then when they pinned him, he stands right back up after the 3 count, and that's when Spivey lost his shit. So he throws Blackwell outside the ring. Blackwell lands on his feet.
Yeah.
So Spivey's like, really? So
Yeah.
as Blackwell was walking around, like to where the camera's facing, the side of the ring the camera's facing, Spivey gets out on the apron and kicks him in the face. Like, it's not
Yeah,
even a play
from
at
the
this
top.
point. Spivey
Yeah.
was done. Like, he was done with
Yeah.
it. And then as they go to commercial, Sid's holding him while Spivey's punching him in the face.
punching
And I
him.
want to say Ross said, we don't need to see this or something like that. You
No,
can
it was
hear-
Nothing to see here, please.
was it Ross?
No, I don't think it was Ross. It was
Whatever. It was like whatever commentator was talking. He's like, yeah, we got to go to commercial. We don't need to see this or something like
He's
that.
like this is disgusting or something
Yeah.
like that. But then you hear their manager Teddy Long going, kick his ass.
Yeah. And then
play,
poor
play,
Avalanche is like, am I gonna do anything? Avalanche
Yeah.
didn't get tagged in. He's like, what? He's like already halfway down the aisle. He's like,
Kick his
"Thanks,
ass."
That was the
Blackwell."
only, and that was the only time I've ever seen Sid take liberties on someone. He was literally uppercutting him like into his ribs, while him and Spivey are holding him down and just punishing this cat.
So
and
can
Spivey's
I-
taking full on punches into the face as well, like just out on the apron.
So when I first found this clip and I hadn't watched it yet, can I be honest and say that I completely, when they were showing the 2 pictures of the prelims before the skyscrapers came down, like, the already in the rings,
yeah,
when they showed Avalanche, I was like, oh, Avalanche gets his ass kicked. But I didn't think it was going to be Blackwell, but it ended up being
Right.
Blackwell. But I saw Avalanche and he looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Huh.
he thinks he's big in like a big boy way.
He's gonna
and
no-sell.
get in there. Yeah, he's going to try to get in there no sell against these guys. And it ended up being Blackwell. And I was like,
he never
I
even had a
judged-
chance to.
I
do
judged
it,
a book by its cover, and I felt terrible for Avalanche. And then, like Craig said right now,
That can't be me with the pot belly and the small genitalia.
Whoa! I don't know about
it's like
the second
it's
one.
like Vince was there.
Sorry,
And so
Avalanche.
so I feel bad for Avalanche, and I will apologize to you, Avalanche. if you
Well,
ever
I
did.
feel bad. I feel
Sorry.
bad for him too, but for a little bit different. Like he gets thrown out right away, and you can see Teddy Long like talking smack to him in the beginning of the match, and he's just on the outside the entire time while Blackwell's no selling, and then he tries to come back into the ring because he's like, "What's going on?" You feel like he's the person that's not.
Like,
in
he
on
forgot
any
he
of
was
this.
in the match. He's like, "What, guys? What's going on?"
He's
in
like,
here?"
Wait a minute! I thought this was supposed to
wrestling
go for at
match?
least a few. I thought I was going to get like 1 tag or something. So he comes back in, and they just throw him out again because like, this is not about you. This is it's done. Like you don't even want to be a part of this. They throw him out again, and while they're punishing Blackwell, he's just laying on the apron next to them. Like, what the hell happened? Because I don't think he could see most of it. He didn't see the no sales.
Yeah.
He was on the outside getting yelled at by Teddy the whole time. I just poor Avalanche here. Just 2 tosses outside
He
of the ring.
deserved-
I don't even know if he got paid.
But Blackwell deserved it. This is the he deserved it
Yeah.
category.
It was
He
no
deserved
doubt
totally.
that he deserved
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The next one, no way this cat deserved what he got.
Wait a minute. Terry Sapp and Terry are on the Perry Saturn in the Technicolor Dreamcoat here this week. Mike Bell will have the unbeatable Tang League.
Mike Bell is a pretty talented enhancement talent. I think we all agree on that. And unfortunately, the only reason why we know Mike Bell is because of this incident with Perry Saturn on WWF Metal. At 219 into the match, Mike Bell attempted like an arm drag, but it looked like it was getting a little fancy. And he didn't give Saturn the proper clearance, and Saturn was actually dumped on his head. And you can see, again, the switch on Perry Saturn when this happened.
Yeah.
He jumped up and he began to really lay into Mike Bell.
Beat the shit out of him.
And he didn't stop. He threw him out on the ring so hard onto his head. I thought he was dead. I think you guys remember that too. So
and then picking him up and throwing him into the stairs
and fucking throws him into the steps.
Exactly. He gets on him again and throws him into the step. At least the step move was safe, but you can tell that Perry wasn't trying to be safe.
He threw him with authority, as Jim Ross said.
And then finally he calms down, but for that honest mistake, Perry Saturn gave him his lickings, and because you don't do that at WWE, Saturn was severely punished for that.
That's why he has the mop in the.
I was gonna say, if you look behind, cuz he's wrestling with a mop, with a mop.
But dare I say though, it's hilarious because he made it work.
Got him over.
People like
he got that mop over.
Oh yeah,
he sure did. But he totally lost it, and you can also argue this is the reason for Saturn's demise going forward. They had a lot of big plans for Saturn, but this
which I think is kind of bullshit. Like he got over it, he got upset, he dumped him out on his head and then threw him in the ring steps. But after that, then he was kind of controlled with him, and they had the rest of the match. And then Terry kind of calmed him down a little bit. But I don't blame.
Oh
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't blame him though because of what happened to Draws not too long before that. They're probably like, no, you don't fucking do that.
Oh, okay. You know? So the
time, and I don't know. Well, I think Mike Bell was getting fancy with the arm drag. He hit the first one, and the first one was shaky. And then he did the second one. He was not trying to arm drag like Steamboat. He was trying to do like a weird over the head like arm drag.
It almost looked like Fireman Carry arm
drag. It was a bell drag. He perfected that on the Indies.
He had a patent.
And on the second one, you saw.
What the hell is so impressive about that?
You saw Saturn land on his head, and again, I go back to shoot interviews because I love listening to the shoot interviews to hear what their take on it was. You know, everybody knows that Saturn has kind of fallen on hard times and stuff.
Yeah.
His health and he's struggled with addiction for a while. But every shoot interview I watched where he talks about this, he is so remorseful. Like he really, I mean, serious. Like
he felt bad about it.
I almost think he's gonna cry in some. He's like, no, you don't do that. You don't do what I did. Like he's so remorseful, and I respect that. You know, like he really felt bad for what he did to him. But he said the reason why it happened was he went to arm drag me, and then on one of the RF shoot videos, he was watching it on a TV screen. He's like right there, and it was the same arm drag where he led. He's all I remember is it rung my bell. I was hearing ringing, and I saw white, and I stood up, and I was pissed. And he was like, I just went off on him. And he was like, I didn't think that he tried to take liberties with me, but I was concussed, so I just got violent. I just got upset. And he just I started going off on him. He's like, the big sin that I got in trouble for was throwing him out on his head because I didn't tell him I was throwing him through the rope, so he didn't know what bump was coming. So Saturn, with all that muscle, you saw Mike Bell trying to go with him, but Saturn really threw him through the middle rope with all of his strength. And so Bell did not have a chance to really figure out what kind of bump am I going to take. Like he didn't know, but Saturn threw him completely through to where Bell didn't really even touch the top or middle rope. He went through it and spiked right on his head, man. I mean, and Saturn knew like I could have, I was mad at him for almost crippling me, but then I almost crippled him. Like why, I think he knew there, like, I'm fucked. I'm in trouble.
Hey, Jess.
Yeah.
Could it be said that Mike got his bell rung?
It could be. Stupid. It could be, son of a bitch.
Almost got his fucking belt broken.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I watched a shoot interview with Terry Runnels as well.
He's in Philly.
And Terry Runnels said the same thing when she was talking about it. She was like, when he got outside the ring, I tried to rub his shoulders and like calm him down. She's like, I knew he was pissed. Like, she's like, I was just like, calm down. Like, because she knew it was getting out of hand.
Oh, then at the end, she kicks Mike Bell out the ring. She's like, get the fuck out. Like, she's kicking him out the ring. Like, just get out of his eyesight.
Yeah, because she was that pissed. Yeah. So, this is where this guy did not deserve it. But I'm not saying it's okay. But Saturn truly feels remorseful. Like he's on all the shooter interview, he's like super humble, and he's like, I shouldn't have done that, and I could have really hurt him, and like. he
luckily
accidentally
Mike
dropped
Bell's
me on
not.
my head, but I purposely tried to spike him
Yeah.
out like on his head.
But
and, like that's
and I think I said it before. Like Saturn had probably about a minute and a half of losing it, and then he got kind of back into it. Like then it was okay. Like
He
but
recollected.
that cost him a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like that cost him.
Poor guy,
that cost
man.
him some major
I love
career
Saturn.
money as well.
I love him. I think
Saturn's
if you
awesome.
go back and watch him,
ECW.
maybe we didn't know it at the time, but especially his ECW stuff. But even in WCW, some of the stuff he did, like Saturn was such a talented wrestler, like he really was. And you watch his movement in there. I always talk about I'm a fan of like movement and stuff, and he was like he could have really
changed the game.
He was super strong, and he was a really good professional wrestler. Like all the movements he does, I'm like, God, man, he knows what he's doing. Like.
Yeah.
Even at the beginning of Mike Bell, the chain wrestling he was doing with Mike Bell, quick, like before he got dropped on his head, like he's good. Like he's just really good and sharp in there. It just sucks
I think
that
that's where in the beginning, like Saturn probably even asked him, "Hey, you want to get some stuff in?"
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it was a competitive match until
That's why he fit in perfectly with the Radicals when they all came over. That group of wrestlers, man.
Exactly. This last one, this guy didn't get anything in. Is what I would say. And it's also one of these things that was a pure accident. And someone feels really, really bad. He probably felt really, really bad up until he passed away. I'm talking about the handicap match between Big Van Vader and Thurman against Thurman and McCoy in a handicap match, WCW Worldwide in 1993. At this moment, Vader is the WCW champion. Am I correct in saying that?
He had just won it back, but as of this TV taping, he was not. So the announcer said he just won the WCW title back, but as of this tape, he taped this like 3 weeks before. And then between the taping of this and the airing, he beat Ron Simmons back for the title.
Yeah, so that's where it comes from on the announcer piece. But it was a nice enhancement handicap match, and Vader is his usual just monstrous self. And it's funny, everybody likes to say that the powerbomb gets all the credit for what happens to Thurman, but we all agree, I think, pretty much on this podcast, that the choke slam that Vader puts on Thurman a couple of moves before that powerbomb is what breaks Thurman's back. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not like, oh, he was so bad he could have broke his back. No, he literally broke Thurman's back on a choke slam. That's how strong Vader was. That's how, and it wasn't out of control, but Vader's used to being strong style, used to being a monster. And that's what they build him as. And Vader's not going to disappoint, but he choke slammed someone so hard that he broke his back. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And the thing is too, is that Vader obviously doesn't know it because he slaps the crap out of him immediately after and then power bombs the guy again.
And right there, he breaks the back of Joe Thurman. But Vader wasn't finished. He was going to intimidate the youngster. Scream at him. Look at this. Right in his face, and it was over. 1, 2, 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's your winner, Big Van Vader.
And pins him. And the one thing I'll say about this that's it makes me respect Vader even more. Once he found out what he did to him, he obviously felt really bad, and him and Harley Race actually went to the hospital to apologize and make sure Thurman was okay when the match was over.
God, that was brutal.
And by the way,
He
like
destroyed him.
I'm sure there was a settlement because Bischoff's been famous for saying that WCW very rarely ever let it go to court. Like whenever they got, they settled out of court like whenever they could. And he was like, there are some things that he hates that about Turner, like legal, but it was some things he's like, yeah, I get why they did that because they're just like, just pay him out. So I'm sure Thurman got a decent payout. But the big thing
Hopefully
about
they covered his expenses. I mean,
I'm sure they paid medical, and Vader again in shoot interviews, it shows a lot of remorse for it. Thurman did not deserve that.
No.
He was just Vader, and he was just being
he
a
did
monster.
nothing wrong. He didn't cross Vader. And,
you know, part of me though, when I see that choke slam, and I'm not, we all love Vader here. I'm not trying to shit on Vader. When I saw that choke slam, I was like, Vader should have known. Like Vader should have known that he rung this guy's bell. But you never know. Moment. We're not in there, right? So you never know. True. Thurman might have said, I'm okay. Like, you know, what's everyone's instinct when you're like an athlete or you're just trying
I'm
to
fine, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah,
I'm good.
And yeah, exactly. And really the thing is too, I mean, I used to skateboard when I was a kid. I'd fall on my head all the time and I would be hurt as shit. And I would get up and they'd be like, you all right? I'm like, yep. I got it, man. Woohoo! I'm just going to take a walk. Like, you know.
I'm just going to go see my mama real quick. So,
Mama! I'm sure they were trying and yeah. And then I go, I'm going to go cry to my mom real fast. And just make sure that she knows I love her. But yeah, so he might have said something. The ref could have leaned in, or Vader could have leaned in, and he might have like given the, they might have had a tap worked out, or
I
something.
do think
like,
when
you don't know
when he powerbombed him and he saw the slow reaction to the powerbomb after, I think that's when Vader did know, and he finally
But you did say it earlier, but yeah, I can't preface enough that he choke slammed him. Then
killed him, and then
when he got up, he slapped the shit out of
him.
him, and then powerbombed him after that. And I was like, oh my god!
Yeah.
I can't talk about it anymore. It's giving me a headache.
It's easy for us to say knowing what happened that Vader should have known, but I don't know the signals. I'm not in there, right? They have a communication that they talk.
I think matches like this is what promotes the X and the hand squeeze and all the other items to make sure people are okay.
It's one thing after the choke slam, but the fact that before the choke slam, this is what I'm gonna do. And I mean, like I was saying earlier off air, like, it's cool. Be known, Vader's that's fine. Be known as the stiff guy that's gonna clock you a couple times, but you're gonna be all right after. You might be your bell is gonna be rung a little bit, but to fucking go out of your way to choke slam something like that, that's like,
I think Vader's forearm.
I mean, he probably tried to be safe. Maybe the guy even put a little extra oomph into it.
The reason Thurman's like both those bumps were the same for him. His body collapsed the wrong way twice, like on
one side, right?
And like over his neck, like his
not bumping right,
right, exactly. Like, yes, he was too, like his legs were in the air too high. You let him go or whatever. But like he folded the top of his neck over his own neck, like twice, the exact same bump. So it's like, all you got to do is just like I don't know, put your legs down faster, and then you wouldn't fold like an accordion twice. He's like, maybe like Thurman, he was even though his back is almost broken on the first one, then he's like, okay, don't do that again. When you use the power bomb, just make sure you tuck your neck and make sure like kind of flat back a little more. And then in the middle of it, Thurman's like, fuck, did it again. And that's when his back broke.
He's like, no, when he pinned him, I told you not to do that.
I was always bad at that at school. Always
never leave with your leg. They always tell me, don't leave with your legs, Joe. Don't do it. And I leave with my legs every time. I hate myself for that. Yeah. Well, and also the reason why I know that they probably settled out of court is because the footage that I'm going to post little clips of and the link that I sent you guys to watch was like a couple of weeks later. Shivani kept referencing, and it's almost time, folks, the moment we all heard of where he breaks this poor guy's back. So they used this as like Vader propaganda to spread what kind of a monster Vader was. So that's how I know they settled out of court, because they were just pretty much like, oh yeah,
that was a stipulation. We're gonna
Joe, we're gonna air the shit out of this. Joe didn't win a lawsuit. They were just like, here, we're gonna give you a bunch of fucking money, pay your medical bills probably, and we're gonna exploit the shit out of this. By the way,
I can talk about this stuff all day, guys. But which
and you're gonna get paid every time we show it.
Maybe, yeah.
Joe, probably. Just go ahead and sign this document. You can use your mouth. That's fine. You just put the pen in your mouth and just kind of sign your name. And then we'll take care of you, Joe. We'll take care of you.
Fuck, that's pretty.
We can talk about this all day, guys. In your opinion, what's the most like egregious wrestling hero moment on today's show? What's the worst one for you?
God.
I mean, the Vader one is the most.
That's jarring. The worst one, probably.
But I would say, fuck, they were all good. The
Saturn one almost could have been pretty bad too. But
I would say the Coco, one.
Yeah, that's true.
Was pretty
start to finish, man.
From start to finish, it was like, oh, yeah! Like it was an ass beating. Like he just knew after that first chop, Coco knew, here's how it's gonna go, motherfucker. Like he just
he's like, I want some high energy.
Yeah. Before he even knew the team's name.
That's what I'm telling you, and that's where Sid got the.
They were in the locker room one day, and Owen's like, "Oh man, like Jim got fired again. Like you're gonna be my partner, Coco. What can we do? You know what? I beat the shit out of some guy a couple years ago, and I gave him high energy." And he's like, "That's it. Fucking let's do it."
Like, what if 5 seconds before, like, they came out from the backstage, like, Mass Patriot was like, "Someone shut that stupid fucking bird up." And then, like, Coco's like,
and he goes, "What?"
That's exactly what happened. Oh, man.
I think
give me some
high. What did you say?
You're not talking about Frankie.
Frankie wasn't even there. Stop it. Audio fans, give us a listen at Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud,
stop messing us up.
Stitcher, and Google Podcasts.
I want to know
or watch our videos on
going
YouTube at
about
our
that.
wrestling channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. This is Dave, Jess, Cuz, and Craig with the O.W.P signing off.
Bye bye.
There's a party pooper.